my colleague from Florida, Mr. Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I approached this hearing today with a heavy heart. I chaired higher education in Florida for 2 years when I was in the legislature, and frankly, given what we've seen over the last week, I believe that higher education is fundamentally broken. You know, when I hear professors making the kinds of comments that have been made from departments that I don't even know why they exist, like queer studies, I wonder, frankly, if we shouldn't be having this debate at all, because the federal government should be exiting the higher education system and say, you guys are on your own, good luck, make it work, but it's time for the taxpayer to exit the system altogether. And that's something that I will be thinking about myself in the coming days. I don't know that the system is too irreparably broken for us to fix it. But, you know, before I was in politics, I actually worked in the hospitality business and helped pioneer the idea of yield management, which is getting different people to pay different amounts for the same product. Particularly think of hotel rates. How do you manage hotel prices and airline prices? Not necessarily to discriminate against two identical customers, but based on different times and different demand cycles in the purchasing process. And it's horrifying to me, frankly, to hear that what hotels use to decide what they're going to price your vacation at or your airplane ticket at is being used to decide whether kids can go to college or not. That is incredibly disturbing. So my question is for Mr. Wishing. In your testimony, you described the enrollment management industry, which involves schools hiring consultants, frankly, like what I used to do. I had no idea that universities did this, who use sophisticated data modeling to pinpoint the exact price that an institution needs to charge to an individual student. How prevalent are these consultants in higher education? How much money are these people getting paid to do this? And how do they influence the prices that are charged to students and their families?
Well, they're out there. There are big name companies in the higher ed space.
Is that all they do? Like, this is their business?
Well,
yield management for colleges?
There can be a big component of the business. The ones that I'm aware of, it's a big component of their business. I've been to I was at a summit, so to speak, here in D.C. and saw one of these companies demonstrate the model. The ethical implications of these things, to see them demonstrated, are jaw-dropping. And to be in a room when this happens and other members of the industry there, like on my side of the table, see it happen, unaffected by what we just saw, is staggering. And I think the reason that people are unaffected by this is that it's just the air that higher ed breathes. Of course, everybody does this. Like in the private world, everybody does it in the hotel world. I think a big problem, frankly, is the nonprofit status. And everybody might be horrified that I'm saying this, but the nonprofit status that higher institutions of education have, because we're supposed to serve the public good, and families and students assume that's what we're doing. But behind the curtain, there are people pulling all kinds of levers that don't work for the public good.
No, I appreciate that. Look, one of the biggest public policy problems we have today is the whole idea of nonprofit. It's a branding issue. People hear something as nonprofit, they assume like struggling people that are, you know, starving to death, that are working for the nobility of the enterprise, because it's a nonprofit enterprise. All a nonprofit institution means is that there are no profits distributed to shareholders. They get distributed in the form of salaries. And look at what some of these people actually get paid. Do any of you have any examples of these firms and what they charge, like specific, just for the benefit of the committee? You know, you need to name names, but you know, you're aware of a university charging group X. I'll let anybody answer. I'm sort of horrified that this business even exists.
Oddly enough, a couple years ago, I was on a plane with a university president, and she was talking about their enrollment management company, and they were talking about saving $300,000. So that wasn't like the total cost. That was just the.
That's what they cut off their contract.
Yeah. So if they switched to a different group, they would be paying $300,000.
So I'd close with this.
They were paying much higher than that.
I got 10 seconds left. Imagine how competitive some of our college institutions are right now. Imagine if they get into the world where they're basically auctioning off slots to those who can pay the highest price. That is where this ends up, and that's not a good thing for anybody. And with that, I yield back.